your weekly Quran study. We are continuing to study Surah Al-Mulk with Dr. Yamina. And and without delay, I'll turn to Dr. Yamina. Jazakallah khair.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. So we're getting close to the end of Surah Al-Mulk. Next week inshallah will be the last part inshallah bi'idhnillah of Surah Al-Mulk, and also the last week of that we're meeting this year, and inshallah next Monday we'll announce when we are meeting again in January, inshallah. So we stopped at ayah 21. In ayah 20 and 21 we were told, who is he beside the most compassionate that can be a host for you, who may help you? The disbeliever are in nothing but delusion. And who is it that will provide for you if he withholds his provision? Nay, but they persist in insolence and aversion. And today, inshallah, we'll start with ayah 22. And in ayah 22, we're told, who is more rightly guided? One who walks with his face stooped down, or the one who walks upright on a straight path? أفمن يمشي مكبا على وجهه أهدى أم من يمشي سويا على صراط مستقيم. And mukib here is يمشي مكبا, literally he who walks prone on his face. So it's like crawling on one's face, literally. And there is a comparison here of the one who walks in this way and the one who walks not only on a straight path, but upright, standing upright. So the one who walks prone on his face, he can only see what is immediately beneath his feet, because he's looking down only. And so he remains utterly unaware of the direction into which he's heading. There is no direction with this metaphor. And it also, it's a metaphor that is also understood as how this attitude, this state of being, totally focused on what is in front of them and not seeing, not having any perspective, is also something that prevents people from caring for anything beyond their immediate worldly concerns. And the other group, so there are two groups here. The other group is the ones on the straight path. So this ayah has two groups, and as we always say, two groups, disbelievers and believers, or we can also understand it as two states of being, a state of being in unbelief or something close to unbelief, like a state of ghafla and delusion and arrogance and ingratitude. All these qualities all go together with that disconnection with our Rabb, and a state of belief and acknowledging our Rabb and being grateful to him and seeking his help. And so when I say the disbelievers, we can understand also the state of disbelief, inshallah. So the disbelievers are likened to someone who crawls on, and the path is also not even. For the second group, the path is straight. Here, even the path is not clear. It's probably a meandering path. And so as a consequence, they can't see the road ahead of them clearly. There is no clear direction, no perspective, not seeing the full picture of what life is about, the true purpose of life, where they're heading to. And so they allow, you can see this image where these people are crawling and without purpose and following whatever direction their desires take them. And it's a sign not only of hardship, it's an unnatural state of being. It does not, it's undignifying, let's say, to the human being. And it's so, it has this connotation of humiliation. It's like humiliating of living life that way. Like an animal, but we're not animals. There's no true worth, no true dignity without that connection to our Rabb, without true meaning, true purpose, true value of life. And for the believers, they are likened to those who walk upright along a straight path, which means they can see what's ahead of them. They're forward. They have a clear vision, a clear direction, because they follow divine guidance. And so they move with awareness, with knowledge, with ease, because they trust in their compassionate Rabb. They're certain all is well, even in hardship, because everything is under the Rabb's control. Tabarak alladhi biyadihi al-mulk. Everything is under, blessed be he who has control over everything, who is sovereign over everything. And so you can see how this image, the crawling also, what brings to my mind is a metaphor for being overly concerned with this worldly life. So it's not only the disbelievers, but we can imagine ourselves when we forget about the true purpose of our life, when we disconnect with our Rabb, we disconnect with the awareness of Akhirah. We have no goal, or as if the goal is something immediate going on here, whereas it should be only a means. So that state of being overly concerned with the worldly life, with materialistic values, and being driven with, I don't know if it's the right word, with animalistic, like lower desires at the expense of lasting meaning, at the expense of true purpose and righteousness and integrity of being abd, of being who we are, being totally dependent on the sustaining of someone else. And that's what the human soul longs for, that true meaning, true connection, that true value and dignity. And all that can be fulfilled by being truthful to who we are as abd. And again, abd means totally dependent on our Rabb, on his sustaining our lives here and now. And to surrender, to make Islam to this reality and be grateful to our Rabb. So far in this surah, from the beginning, we have these two groups of people, these two attitudes that have been discussed. And we have those who ignore the signs of God and persist arrogantly in living haphazardly, randomly. They may have their own aims and goals, but those aims and goals are disconnected from the true goal, which is to know God and to get ready for eternal life, for Akhirah. And the result is ingratitude. The person can be grateful for things here and there, but not grateful to the right source, not grateful to our Rabb. And the second attitude is constantly reflecting on the signs of God. So this is important because this is not something that we do from time to time. It's not a hobby. It is the purpose of our life. We may forget from time to time, But then we need to make istighfar, ask for forgiveness, and get back to the straight path. There is only one straight path that leads to the path. It is wide, but it's one path, the path of truth. So this is who we need to be. It's not something that we learn and remember from time to time. To reflect on the signs of God in the creation, in the world, and to believe accordingly, to get to know God as our Rabb through those signs, through his creation, through his messages in the creation. And then it will be easy to be grateful to him. It will be easy to remember him, because everything in the world will, everything around us and within us will remind us of him. And accordingly, we will be able to live in his name. Bismillah, Bismillah Rahman, since Ar-Rahman is being repeated in this surah. So then in Ayah 22, we're asked again to reflect on this, the huge difference between these two ways of being, these two ways of living our lives. And we are asked who is more rightly guided. After giving us like 21 ayah, 21 messages, and then says, who is more rightly guided? Like, isn't it clear? The one who walks with his face stooped down, or the one who walks upright on a straight path? And so we're invited to take a stand and make a choice. It's very important to decide and make a choice, make that intentional, conscious choice, because otherwise we will keep going, finding ourselves back in that zone of comfort of living in disconnection, in ghafla, mindlessly. And so this is like, okay, now can you see the two ways? Isn't it clear? So now we have to take a stand. But with yet another compassionate nudge, as if we're reminded again of our reality in Ayah 23. SubhanAllah, it's just like there is so much compassion in this reminding again and again from different perspectives, in different ways, to attract our attention and to help us make our minds up and increase our certainty, so that our hearts are satisfied with the reality, so that the choice is easy. So it's not like, oh, like I want to, it's not easy, but what can I do? I'll have to need motivation to make that choice. No, not at all. Because the alternative is awful. Crawling, living life as if crawling, as if a worm, an earthworm. It's not worth living that way, really. So it's like helping us see the situation as it is. And when we see it as it is, inshallah, then it becomes very easy to move with ease. They are eased, we are told in, was it Surah Al-Layl? That we are eased into the path of easiness. فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى. And so in the next ayah, in ayah 23, we're told, say, it is he who has brought you into being and has endowed you with hearing and sight and hearts. Yet little do you give thanks. قل هو الذي أنشأكم وجعل لكم السمع والأبصار والأفئدة قليلا ما تشكرون. Subhanallah, astaghfirullah. And qalilan is really very little. So qalilan ma tashkurun means you hardly ever give thanks for anything at all. And so this is something to stop and reflect about. And what is given to us is something that truly we often take for granted. We are giving all these precious tools, we're told, hearing, seeing, and the feelings in the hearts. They're all given to us. And why are they given to us? Obviously, they have a purpose in order to comprehend the truth, to recognize the truth, to recognize the signs of God in the creation, to obtain knowledge about it. And yet we seldom use them for the purpose of our creation. We seldom even reflect on how valuable and amazing these faculties are, because we often take them for granted. And because we take them for granted, because we are mostly unaware of just how very precious they are, we waste them for unworthy worldly goals without true purpose in mind. We just like use them. That's it. Astaghfirullah. I mean, the more we stop, of course, normally, so what we're going to do when we are alone, we need to actually reflect on the meaning of this ayah. This ayah is very deep. There is hearing, there is seeing, there is hearts, feelings. So much is given to us, and it's so precious and so valuable. And yet, we just use them. Sometimes we don't even use them to our benefit here and now. We just use them haphazardly, without even thinking, without purpose, because we take them so much for granted. And of course, how we use them, how we use hearing and seeing and feelings, and therefore comprehending, because we comprehend and we reason with our hearts. The aql, the intellect, is part of the heart in the Quranic terminology, affects how we live our life. Are we living our life crawling or upright on a straight path? And in the next ayah, we are told, in ayah 24, we're told, say, it is he who has created you and multiplied you on the earth, and it is unto him that you shall be gathered. قُلْ هُوَ الَّذِي ذَرَأَكُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَإِلَيْهِ تُحْشَرُونَ. It means it's God who creates you from the earth, and then on the earth, from the earth on the earth, and then disperses you all over the earth, and then he will gather you. So in this world, we are being dispersed. He's the one who disperses us. He's the one who gathers us, inshallah, on the day of resurrection. So this ayah actually is telling us the course and the goal of our life. And that's that we are enjoined to follow the straight path of haqq in ayah 23. And in 24, we are given the goal, which is, well, in 23, we are told that we are enjoined to follow the straight path in 22, and make use of all the faculties we've been endowed with, like hearing and seeing and feelings in 23. And then in 24, we are given the goal. All this is, why are we using these faculties as means to obtain knowledge and recognize the truth and proceed towards, in order to proceed towards the goal, the everlasting life, akhirah, our Rabb, to be his ibad, to worship none but him, the path that leads to him. In ayah 23, we're told, هو الذي أنشأكم. And in ayah 24, it says, هو الذي ذرأكم. So the first verb can be, has been, I think, in some literature, understood as an allusion to creation from nothing, ex nihilo, or let's call it origination. Just because it just means like God just says, kun fayakun, be and it is. He is the one who, in ayah 23, he is the one who has brought you into being. In ayah 24, he is the one who has created you and multiplied you. So the first one is like kun fayakun, be and it is. He, like we're told in Surah Al-Nahl, Surah 16, ayah 40, إنما قولنا لشيء إذا أردناه أن نقول له كن فيكون. And our word unto a thing when we will it is only that we say to it be and it is. So God speaks the word be and things happen. They come into being. And so we're told in Surah Ali Imran, for instance, which is the third surah in the Quran, about the creation of Adam, which means the creation of human beings. The context is, it says the likeness of Isa alayhi salam, of Jesus, with God is as the likeness of Adam. And then we're told he created him from dust, and then he said unto him, be, and he is. ثم قال له كن فيكون. So God says be and he is. So that's the أنشأكم. It is he who has brought you into being, which alludes to, it means we were non-existent and God willed us, and he is willing us right now, otherwise we can't sustain, we can't remain in existence without his will. And that's how we come into being. Not only we came at the beginning, but right now also that's how we are in being. As we're told in the first 3 verses of Surah Al-Insan. Al-Insan means the human being. So a whole surah, a whole chapter of the Quran is called the human being, Al-Insan. And it's chapter 76, Surah 76. So in the first 3 ayat we're told, has there not come over human being a span of time when he was a thing unremembered, not worth mentioning? It means a span of time before he came into being. And this is true for every one of us. There was a time we were not here. Carries on, truly it is we who have created human being out of a drop of mixed fluid, that we may test him, and we made him hearing, seeing. Truly we have guided him upon the way, be he grateful or ungrateful. So you see, again, there is a clear pattern, like we last week we were talking about these patterns in the Quran, that the creation, he created human being, gave him hearing, and he made him hearing and seeing. Why? Because of the ibtila that was mentioned at the beginning of this surah as well. And we have guided him. So everyone is guided, and at the end we are shown the way, and it is up to us to choose to be grateful or ungrateful. إِنَّ هَدَيْنَاهُ السَّبِيلَ إِمَّا شَاكِرًا وَإِمَّا كَفُورًا. So may Allah make us of those who are grateful. However, to be grateful to God alone, we need to know him as our Rabb. Because if we perceive things as our benefactors, then our gratitude will go to them. Even if we decide to be grateful, to live with gratitude, our gratitude will not be directed to the object of worship, the true object of worship. It will go to things. because our perception would be misguided. That's why the guidance comes first. We have guided him upon the way. And that's why to know God as our Rabb is so important. Because then, and it is only then when that we can perceive things as what they are truly, as signs, ayat, reflecting and making tasbih of their creator. Otherwise, if we are grateful to the things themselves, if we imagine them to be the source of benefits, then it means we're not seeing beyond them. It means they are not being transparent to us. We are stuck into them. And we are stuck into them when we do not acknowledge that we are being sustained right now, because we see things in our own image. We project our image onto everything else. So to know God as my Rabb here and now, to acknowledge my being totally dependent on him is crucial, is the key to being able to see things as they are, as signs, indicating the beautiful names of God, reflecting Wajh Allah, the face of God, and glorifying him with his beautiful, most beautiful names, with his Asma al-Husna. And that then I can be grateful to him alone. So it's not only about being grateful, but being grateful to God alone. Why? Because he's the only source of everything I can be grateful for. That's the truth. That's the reality that we need to confirm and acknowledge and witness and testify to. That's why the Shahada is so important. And so in Ayah 24, the expression that's used is هو الذي ذرأكم هو الذي ذرأكم في الأرض. It is he who has multiplied you, created you and multiplied you on the earth. And so this is a reference or an allusion to the creation of human beings from the earth. It means a creation through composition, through materials, through matter, let's say. Out of dust, it is said in the Quran. It means out of matter, in the form of composition that can be observed in the world. And this is not true only for human beings, but everything else, especially, it's especially observable in living beings. So God both originates, he just say be and it is, and he composes, he uses all kinds of water and matter and food and everything to sustain us in life, and air and light. And so there is always origination within composition. Composition also happens through be and it is, through his command. And so this is the way God makes himself known through us. And this is the way he manifests to us his most beautiful names through his creation. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to witness those beautiful attributes in the creation. And so he forms beings out of the elements of the universe in order to demonstrate to us his many names, his many qualities of perfection, like power, almightiness that we saw in this surah, mercy and compassion, Rahman, power and knowledge and wisdom, of course. So be and it is, or let's say creation by command, means, as far as we're concerned, how do we witness the be and it is? I'm not going to go into the details. We can do that another time because it takes, it may not be obvious to someone who is hearing it the first time, but it is the creation through laws. So the earth, for instance, is made to spin, and very microscopic tiny particles also spin in the same way. They all have spins. and the biggest bodies in space, they spin as easily as the tiniest particles. And this demonstrates a law of power. So I'm not talking about laws of nature. Why? Because I don't want to go there, because I think that's it's based on a misperception of the universe. It's based on a perception of the universe where there is no God, or it's disconnected from God, as if things were horizontally related to each other. I didn't want to go there, but just quickly, it's like if someone who doesn't know how phones work, you give him a cell phone in his hand, he calls, there is a name written, okay, he calls the person answers. He sees the other person, let's say they're in the same room, he calls the second person, a third person, and then he decides that my telephone is connected to all these telephones, and there is a law, let's say, for the sake of example, horizontally, that's working horizontally among telephones. But that's not how it works. If you have no, how is it called? If you have no plan, if you don't pay your bill, your telephone is the same telephone, but it doesn't connect to anyone. Because it is, this material thing in my hand is not connected to anyone. It is connected to one central or satellite, whatever it is, and that satellite is connects me to everyone else. And so it is with the creation. It feels like there is a connection between me and water, but the connection is, we are told in the hereafter, people in hell will drink water, but it won't satisfy their thirst. Why? Because here it seems like I drink water, I'm not thirsty anymore. Everything is going well. So it seems like water is doing it. Yes, but water is doing it bi'idnillah, through the command of be and it is. Do this and it is. When there is no command, the water cannot do anything. The water cannot even exist on its own without its creator willing it to be. But in that ghafla, in that disconnected, dark perception of the world, it seems like it's between me and water. We are told in Akhirah, water is there, but it doesn't fulfill any of your needs because it's not from water. Through water, when I drink as a believer, who witnesses the signs, who confirms the sign, the water becomes, speaks to me through its lifelessness, through its powerlessness, through its ignorance, that whoever is using it is the merciful, is the one who knows all my needs, is the one who is providing for me, is the one who is taking care of my needs. So water becomes a sign, making tasbih, glorifying its maker, our Rabb, reminding me of him. It becomes like a mirror, reflecting the names of God, and it's like the telephone that is connected to the source. So through water, I get to know the source. I get to realize that water is acting through a law of giving of life, through a law of power, through a law of compassion, a law of mercy. So the laws now are not horizontal. They are not the laws of nature, water giving life to living things. They are these laws are vertical. I think this much is enough. If you have questions, then we can talk about it. So what was I talking about? Yeah, so the spinning of the earth and the tiny particles, they are happening according to one comprehensive law of power, for instance, because that's what I see first. But you can talk about other laws as well. The laws of the divine names, which are in force in the universe, which we can witness in the universe. And through that law, the Almighty, the All-Powerful, Al-Aziz, Al-Qadir, causes the solar system to travel in space at a very high speed, actually. And these laws are in a sort like a universal manifestation of divine will and divine command of be and it is. And it is through these laws that God directs everything and hears everything and has control over everything. Lahu Al-Mulk. And that's why in Surah Al-An'am, for instance, just to give one example, which is Surah 6, Ayah 59, we are told, and He, meaning God, has the keys to the unseen. None knows them but Him, and He knows what is on land and sea. No leaf falls but that He knows it, nor is there a single grain, single seed in the dark recesses of the earth, nor anything moist or dry, but that it is in a clear book. ولا رطب ولا يابس إلا في كتاب مبين. So He knows everything, because as we were told in this surah, ألا يعلم من خلق. Like, wouldn't He? Who else can know except the one who creates? وهو الخبير اللطيف الخبير. He is subtle, all aware, knowing of everything, because He is the one who creates them, the one who sustains them. So, and like He creates one single insect, He creates the whole species of insects with the same law. And how do we know? We look at it, they all come in the same way. They follow the same pattern, the same law, with the same ease. So it is a command. It's like putting the light on or off. And for instance, through the law of ihya, of bestowing life, of giving life, He restores life to one tree in spring. Suddenly, you see all the trees are becoming greener. All trees, all green, all bushes, everything. So just like He restores life to one tree with the same ease, He also restores the whole spring, all trees, all plants, all living things. And we are told in the Quran, this is how He raises the whole earth to life through beinities, and through the same law He will also raise us, all beings, to life at resurrection. And that's why we told ما خلقكم ولا بعثكم إلا كنفس واحدة إن الله سميع بصير. Your creation and your resurrection is but like a single soul. And God, why? Because God is all seeing, all hearing. So to create one soul, to create all humanity is the same for Him, because it's through be and it is one law. To resurrect one soul or all everything is also the same. And so this is for the creation through command, be and it is. It is through law, as far as we're concerned. That's how it is manifested in the world. So, of course, what we need to do in order to confirm this is to go the other way around. Through observing law, things happening through law, we are going to go to the command of be and it is. And there is also the creation in the form of composition. It's like things are being formed through matter. Things are coming together. And for instance, we eat and drink and breathe air. It seems like the first time we were created out of nothing. And in ghafla, it seems like now it's all about food and air and a form of composition. But actually, there is always origination within composition. Composition also happens with the command be and it is. And composition is also easy because of the same laws of power and knowing and all the divine names. And all the necessary elements or whatever substances, let's say, they are all gathered according to the law of his power. He gathers just, and that's why if we witness this law here, how everything is gathered for one thing to be, then we will know that he's the gatherer. It's easy for him to gather all human beings on the day of judgment. And so by divine knowledge and at his command, each of these elements, each of these substances, whatever is needed, all these things, they all assume a specific measure, miqdar, we are told in the Quran, a proportion, in order to take the form of a particular living being, for instance. And so through the law of providing, of razaqiyah, God, the provider, sends these particles, these substances, these elements, which act as his command, like water, remember? It acts as his command. It doesn't exist on its own anyway. They are being employed by him. And through lifeless, powerless things, like, let's say, water, he sustains the life of living beings. And it is through this interplay of these two sorts of creation, origination through direct command, through laws, and compositions, that the world becomes the place of ayat, where ayat can be seen by us. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to see the ayat. If everything was happening only through origination, be and it is coming like magical, we wouldn't be able to have the opportunity to see how those names are being intricately interconnected one into the other, and each one is showing the other one. So this is these two ayat are an indication in some way or to this two sorts of creation. And of course, these two sorts of creation, we can witness them in our own creation right here and now, because yes, we need to drink and eat and to sustain our life and breathe especially. However, what's the adult to do with the baby? Obviously, the adult, the physical being, all of it is new. It's not like the baby is being used and being composed and something is added on it. Without it's happening so smoothly and so easily that we take it for granted. But for those who know, the muhsins who live in the presence of God mindfully, consciously, they can see that the ease is actually a sign to great power. So he has absolute power, be and it is. That's why it seems like the child is growing, but actually if you take, it's like the squares in a film, the old films. I mean, even in the new ones, you have to have squares, even if it's on a computer, you have to have different squares. So it seems like one person is, for instance, walking, but actually each square is a different picture. And so it is like you have a tiny baby, a toddler, a child, a young person, an adult, an old person. each one is a new creation. I don't want to go in between, it's the same, but just to make it clearer. It's a new creation. It's be and it is. However, that be and it is appears in the form of composition. Why? Because we need it, because that's the way we get to see the beautiful names working, and we get to recognize them. Inshallah. Still, the deniers are still stubborn, and they ask the following question. It sounds sarcastic in Ayah 25, and they say, when will this promise come to pass if you are truthful? وَيَقُولُونَ مَتَى هَذَا الْوَعْدُ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. This expression, وَيَقُولُونَ مَتَى هَذَا الْوَعْدُ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ, is actually repeated few times, I think, maybe 5-6 times in the Quran. At each time it is uttered by the disbelievers, because believers wouldn't ask such a question. It doesn't make sense. It's not a sincere question. It's sarcastic. Because why would the date of the day of gathering matter?
Yamina, also the question is really not sincere, because let's say there's a date provided. What are they going to do? They're going to wait until that day? That's not belief. Well, and then once it happens, it's too late. But the point is to be able to confirm by looking at the signs. It's not about waiting for that date. They're still not going to believe.
It's not about the date. It's all about, is there such a day or not? When it happens, it doesn't matter. If it's happening, it's important. If it's not happening, we don't care. And because there is death, then we need to take it seriously. If there was no death, there is no need to even talk about it. Since there is death, then why does it matter? Like if it's in 100 years or 1,000 years, like how would it matter? Because when I die, it's the end as far as I'm concerned. So what difference would it make to know the day of the day of judgment or not? Nothing. No difference. So it's all again another excuse to actually deny that day. It's almost like saying in kuntum sadiqin on top of that. If you are truthful, can you tell us when it's going to happen? So what? When I die, it's the end for me. That's the date. And that date we don't know it, because, and it is rahmah that we don't know, because if we knew, can you imagine the anxiety? We wouldn't be able to live life, wouldn't have that choice, that joy, that peace. So there is rahmah, the fact that, yes, there is the possibility of forgetting, but there is also, if we knew for sure, it would be very stressful at the same time. So there is a balance in all this. But the question is definitely not sincere. Not only it's not sincere, it's sarcastic.
It's as if like somebody is saying, hurricane is coming, you need to evacuate. And they're asking, when is it coming? Okay, what are you going to do? Like, if you're true, we will wait until the hurricane shows up. But
that will be too late.
The whole point is prepare now. You need to leave now. So
if you are taking it seriously, you can't be asking these questions. You should look at the signs. Is it true what they're saying? Where are the signs? If they had said, where are the signs of this? How would I know that what you're saying is true? Then it's different. Then it's sincere. And that's why the reply is basically that the knowledge is known to only God knows. And answer comes in ayah 26 in the next ayah when it says, say, knowledge lies with God alone, and I am only a clear warner. قل إنما العلم عند الله وإنما أنا نذير مبين. And again, there is this Nadir, a warner. I am a warner. Remember, this is I think it's maybe the 4th time that we see this word Nadir, warner. And remember, this surah focuses on compassionate warning. So here in ayah 25, they ask when, and the answer is God knows. In another passage, for instance, in Surah Al-Isra, which is Surah 17, in ayah 51, there they ask, who shall bring us back to life? They ask, who shall? And the answer is different. They say, he who created you first. Then they will shake their heads at you and say, when will that be? Say, perhaps it is near. عسى أن يكون قريبا. It is always near because we are always near to death, because time is always passing. So you see there, the question is a little bit different, and so is the answer. In Surah Al-A'raf also, they ask also about the time, when will the last hour come to pass, and the answer is, truly knowledge rests with my Rabb alone, none but he will reveal it in its time. Heavily will it weigh on the heavens and the earth, and it will not fall upon you otherwise than of a sudden. So it's giving a little more explanation there, but the question is also asked in a different way, not in a sarcastic way like this. And it's saying that it will happen all of a sudden. Why? Because those who are not prepared, whenever it happens, it's going to be suddenly. And those who are prepared, for them, nothing is sudden, because they live in the presence of their Rabb, with ihsan. So you see how the answer fits the question. In ayah 26, it also says, knowledge, إنما العلم عند الله. Although in Surah Al-A'raf it was إنما علمها عند ربي, because they asked about the last hour. Here they say, and I am a clear warner. So the Prophet is a warner. He's sent to warn people out of concern for them. Because what is to warn people? Warning is to inform people of dangers before they happen, right? So this is something very compassionate, to be informed in advance before it's too late. That's why this surah focuses on warning, and because it focuses on warning in this, but with very, very gently, very compassionately, repeating again and again, warning again and again, that's also a manifestation of Rahmah. That's why the name of God, Rahman, is repeated again and again. And he's not only a warner, but with clarity. Mubin, there is clarity here. He makes bayan. It means he warns people with full detail. And if you look at this surah so far, you can see how there is bayan. The details have been given to us of what lies ahead and why we should take everything seriously, and why, how to know our Rabb right now, so we can know what he does and what he can do. And although the question sounds sarcastic, the answer sounds very thoughtful, very compassionate, and there is humility. There is a say at the beginning, قُل. So the Prophet ﷺ is asked to say, I am only a warner. Can you see the humility? It's like, I'm a warner. I'm here to warn you. No, there is like, I'm only a warner. He knows, I don't know. I am no different from you. Why? Like, there is this, through the way he's answering them, he's again mirroring to them what being a abd is. His being, his answer, the way he's taught to be in answering is itself also guidance, is itself a message of humility, a message of abd. I don't know anything. It's not like I am better than you, or like in other passages in the Quran, like Yaqub alayhi salam, when they told him, how come you don't know? He says, I only know what God teaches me. And so the humility is actually more explicit in ayah 28. So I'm not going to 27 because it's slightly different subject. So I leave it for next week, inshallah. It will be from 27 to 30. This surah has 30 ayat. There will be our 4, inshallah, if we're still living and breathing. And if we are given the opportunity to meet again, we will, inshallah, our intention is to reflect on the last 4 ayat. But you can see the humility in ayah 28 when, again, primarily the Prophet ﷺ, but everyone else, because it says, قُل, the first addressee was the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, but the addressees now are whoever is taking this message seriously. We are told, say, have you considered whether God destroys me and those with me, or has mercy upon us? Who will protect the disbelievers from a painful punishment? قُلْ أَرَأَيْتُمْ إِنْ أَهْلَكَنِيَ اللَّهُ وَمَنْ مَعِيَ أَوْ رَحِمَنَا فَمَنْ يُجِيرُ الْكَافِرِينَ مِنْ عَذَابٍ أَلِيمٍ. You can see that there is no absolving, or there is no like setting oneself above others. It says, God could destroy me and those with me, or he can have mercy upon me. It's like it's not up to me. He is the one who decides. And that's why we ask for help from him. We ask for mercy from him. We turn to him because he has the last word. So you see how the answers are not giving this is the date, or like we would be we said, okay, that the question was not sincere, but that's for us to know that this question is not sincere. So it means do not bother to answer it, because the person is not really trying to know the date. Is just an excuse. But, and so if we take it literally and we start, what are you going to do with the date? The date is not important, and this and that. We forgot also about the aim, the goal of our being here, what we are being here. We can only either help these people through words if they are listening, or at least be that guidance, embody that guidance, and maybe they will feel it. Remember, there is the hearing of words, there is the seeing second, And there is the heart, the feeling. So they will maybe see something and feel something if there is still a little bit of good intention. And the truth is, it is true. Whether you are a prophet or whoever you are, there is no guarantee. Everyone is abd. It means everyone is totally dependent on God's mercy, on his sustenance, sustaining, on his rububiyyah, here, now, always, in this world and in the next. That's how we understand the next world anyways. That's the only way we can have certainty of akhirah. It is true confirming, witnessing and confirming and living and experiencing our ubudiyyah right now. And our ubudiyyah is the mirror that reflects rububiyyah. Subhanallah, how you can see the humility and the compassion and the empathy with these people who are being sarcastic. It says, have you considered whether God destroys me and those with me or has mercy upon us? And who is teaching this to the Prophet ﷺ, to us? God is teaching this. Then when you remember that is God teaching this, you feel like the affection, the love, there is such a compassion, like almost like this coming to our level. It's like speaking to the level of this foolish human beings who forget who they are, what they need, and saying, this is what you need. Giving us like the cues, telling us what the answer is, like giving us the exam and giving us the test and giving us the answers. Can you just like put these answers in? And some of us say, no, I'm not. Why should I put answer this way here? So if you don't know the answer, if you didn't do your homework, at least do this. Who will protect the disbelievers from a painful punishment? It's not who will protect you, disbelievers. No, the disbelievers, whoever disbelieves. Who will protect them? He alone can protect us. So let's seek him and seek his help and seek his mercy right now. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. آمين. والحمد لله رب العالمين. I leave it here, inshallah. And we'll meet next week for the last part. بإذن الله.
جزاكم الله خير. Inshallah. Are there any questions or comments at this time?
I have two comments. One was the beautiful imagery of standing up versus being on your face. And subhanallah, yani, for me, they're both one is the dignity, standing up is dignified. And the other one is when people are begging on their face, begging for everything. So when we get attached to things, then the thing becomes what we're begging for, and we look we humiliate ourselves. We're then on our face begging, so one is dignified. Even when you ask, the Prophet would remind us, when we ask with dignity, because we have a haqq. If someone needs zakah, he has a haqq in people's money. So to ask with dignity. So I mean, I've never thought about it that way, but now that you explain it this way, I can see the standing up is the dignified version, and on your face. Like for me, before on your face was like being dragged to hellfire, like you're dragged on your face. But now I can see also you live like, being, you live in such, humility, like begging for everything on your face, while you have the option to be like, to be upright and be dignified. So that was the first, image that came to me. And the other image that came to me as you were speaking about like how we know God, when you're speaking about like قُلْ هُوَ الَّذِي أَنْشَأَكُمْ, then قُلْ هُوَ الَّذِي ذَرَأَكُمْ, and then you're saying like the matter, Allah used matter in all of his creation so that it will manifest his beautiful attributes and names. It brought to me something funny, but like MSA used to have a bake competition once a year. And in the bake competition, like teams are, they use certain materials that are allowed. And then they see like what is every team done, like, so when they look at them, they look at artistry, they look if they have a theme, they look at the taste, at the presentation. So they all have the same materials. But then, like, they would say, oh, this team has shown, like, that it cares for the presentation, that, they cared, or they had a message, like, some of them had messages like Masjid al-Aqsa, and like, a spiritual message, or Iqra Bismi Rabbika in the Quran. And some just had like a flower. So then they were looking also, is there a wisdom behind the baking? Like the team, did it show wisdom? Did it show artistry? How was the taste? So subhanallah, so as we're looking, then this is like how we look and say, oh, this is showing knowledge and wisdom and power and mercy. And so then with the elements, the more you look into like these elements that are just dust, like, but look water and dust, like Allah shows all of these things with. So both images came from the discussion. Jazakallah khair, Yamina.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Alia.
One thing I wanted to share is the other day I was talking to someone and we talked about plane parts, like how many parts does a plane have? And the number was very, very big, and like, depends on the plane, but like some planes are like 300,000 different parts. Some plane has like millions of different parts, and thousands of different companies source, different parts. And then all of a sudden, knowing that those numbers made me think like how complicated a plane is, and to manufacture it in that way, that very balanced, delicate way, requires immense amount of knowledge and coordination, because all these different companies are going to be, all the parts comes to one place and so on. So similarly, like when an organ is built from many pieces, if it was just one piece, we wouldn't be able to appreciate the immense, comprehensive knowledge and artistry.
Intricacies and interconnected and tiny things and
and as you were saying, from one perspective, kun fayakun. There are no steps, no means necessary. If he wills, he makes it happen. He doesn't need anything. At the same time, as you're saying, he also creates through, using these details and steps and laws and parts, because that's how we can appreciate, the manifestation of his wisdom. How would we be able to see it if these steps didn't happen? It just, boom, a baby came. But now the baby comes, 9 months, slowly, and has millions and billions of little parts that fit together and works for various purposes. If you think about it, why do you need blood circulation? You could just have life. No, but there's blood circulation, and that goes through the lungs, and you have the oxygen and so on. None of these things have life, and from one perspective, he gives life because kun fayakun. From another perspective, he gives life through all of these steps in this world, in this seen, witness world, so that we can.
Yeah, as you said, Isra, like why do we need blood, for instance? What came to my mind is the classical example, but it's very powerful, of the baby, for instance. The baby grows very fast, therefore needs nutrition a lot. It's very crucial for its growth. Yet, the first few weeks, there is only one kind of nutrition, that's milk. That's it. So actually, if it is about nourishment and about growing and about sustaining life, milk would be enough. Yet there are all these so many kinds of food and fruits and vegetables and drinks, and not only there are a lot growing out there, but we also have the ability to combine in different ways, cook them in different ways, and lo and behold, we have the tongue that can distinguish all these kinds of tastes. Why would we need such a tongue if it's not to praise God and to get to know his gifts and get to know him and praise him and be grateful to him? If it were not for that, why we don't need it? We could have been just like babies. That's it. One kind of food. If it were only to grow, it's not for growing. It's for something else. It's clearly evident there. Subhanallah.
And like those variety of tastes, they could also come to us. I'm just like sitting. You just sit, and then all of a sudden different sensation comes to your mouth. God doesn't need food to give you these pleasures. But no, like the world is made in that step by step, because that's how we get to really appreciate and see the manifestations, like these manifestations of, generosity, beauty, wisdom. They need a screen on which to manifest, and this is just a screen. The source is elsewhere, but this world of the way the world is structured through these laws and through these steps, right?
Yeah.
Points to him.
That's why we were told in this surah, what was the هو الذي جعل لكم الأرض ذلولا فامشوا في مناكبها وكلوا من رزقه. It says he made the earth like this for you, so walk and eat from his rizq. So it's like he wants us to go around and look for the food, because as we are interacting, then we get to appreciate that everything is made for us, how everything is made with artistry, with beauty, with we smell them, we see them, we interact with them.
And then it says, وَإِلَيْهِ النُّشُورُ.
Yes, subhanallah.
Today you also mentioned, which
yes. It was 15, I think.
وَإِلَيْهِ
النُّشُورُ, yeah, and you will be resurrected to him. Unto him you will be resurrected.
And then they think verse 24 as well. ذَرَوْكُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَإِلَيْهِ تُحْشَرُونَ, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that really like it's as if initially we see these steps, but they are for a purpose, and it becomes very clear in the next sentence. You're going back to him because he's the source. All of these steps or seeming causes, it's just an excuse or just the screen onto which his beautiful qualities are manifesting. Your return is to him, meaning he's the source of everything.
And that's why the straight path is important, because it leads to him. Otherwise, the goal. So it tells us how to live and where we are heading. That's why the path is straight and we are straight, upright, and we can see in front of us. We know the goal is clear.
As opposed to begging from things. And
also there is this, when you look at the ground, your face is only, it's like you're expecting things from it. It doesn't mean literally to the ground, but it means to things, being stuck in things themselves, as if they are the source of benefits. We do that a lot. Astaghfirullah. We forget.
That is our default, astaghfirullah, but it's, may Allah, inshallah, bring a new default for all of us. I wanted to share some good news, beautiful news with the rest of us. And a lot of us know that our beautiful daughter, Sarah, has been blessed with a beautiful baby that she has chosen a beautiful name for. And she shared with me today that she chose this beautiful name based on like the receiving Noor, like, discussions, because she thought, if the core of being abd is being grateful, so then I'll call my son something that will remind me of this, and it's her dua for him. So she called her son Shakur. So mashallah, like, the last part of the discussion, we've been speaking about the baby and speaking about like, all these beautiful steps that inshallah she will be, inshallah, live with gratitude in realizing. I like Isra, your like billboard, like analogy, because sometimes you see something on a big screen and they try to make it look beautiful, like by putting on a big screen, but the big screen view wants you to go and see the real thing. So like everything here is for us on a big screen, but the goal is to see the real thing, inshallah. And inshallah be like Shakur, that we also be Shakirin. Jazakumullah kull khair.
Inshallah.
Ameen. Are there any other comments, questions? Okay, then inshallah we will stop here, and inshallah we'll meet one last time this calendar